Hello, welcome. You're listening to Seasons 1 of Narcolepsy Navigators, brought to you by Naps for Life Narcolepsy. Narcolepsy Navigators is a podcast for raising awareness of this fascinating illness through a deep dive into the lives and individuals living with narcolepsy and idiopathic hypersomnia. I am Kerly, the founder of Naps for Life Narcolepsy, and welcome to our stories.
Hello and welcome to the podcast episode with Kerly and Liz. Today we're going to be talking about Kerly's journey with her narcolepsy. Hello, Kerly.
Hi, Liz. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. How was your Christmas break and how did you find it managing narcolepsy and cataplexy over the festive period?
Christmas was good. It was nice to be with family and get a break from just being by yourself. But this year I had many cataplexy attacks, much more than usual, and a lot of sleep attacks, much more than last year. So that was very interesting. And I'm not sure why, because usually it's my sister, which is very funny, that triggers all my cataplexy. But I was having more cataplexy, not just for laughing, for other symptoms, not symptoms.
Emotions?
Yes, for other emotions, which was very strange to me.
Yeah, interesting. And do you know what other emotions were causing it?
Frustration. Yeah.
Often felt around family.
Yeah. Yeah. Frustration. It was just so many, and it wasn't that funny. So
yeah, your family aren't that funny. Shouldn't have had that many cataplexy episodes.
My sister wasn't ripping it like she usually does.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I was having so many. And just we were watching Elf, and then I had a cataplexy that led into a sleep attack.
Oh no.
That led into paralysis. Yeah, and then when I came back, I don't even know how much of the film I saw because I was just going back into sleep attacks. It was very strange.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate that. I mean, I as well slept through a lot of Christmas films, so I rarely saw the ending to many of those. Okay, so you had a lot of sleep over Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think I was saying to you earlier as well, I had a similar experience where I was napping probably twice as much as I usually do when I'm working, even though I was taking my medication. So I don't know if it's just something to do with being more in a more relaxed environment and my body taking advantage of the break or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so I can relate to that.
It almost like the body knows that you don't have to go to college, you don't have to go to work. So it's like, oh, why not rest?
Yeah, why not sleep through the whole day? It is frustrating at times though, because I find it difficult to work out if the naps are helping me or if actually sleeping that much is making me more lethargic and more tired.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that either. Yeah.
It's hard to work out, and it's so individual as well.
My mum would probably say that it is making you more sleepy. Yeah, but I don't know.
It's so hard to resist though when you're just snuggled up under a blanket and you're watching a film and you feel that the sleep haze coming on and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to let it happen.
Yeah, there's no need to fight it.
Exactly. So can you tell us a bit more about your journey with narcolepsy?
So when I was 15 years old, I was in high school in year 10, I started to fall asleep in some of my classes. And I used to do a lot of sports and stuff like that. And I just felt more tired when I do the sports. And when I come home from school, I'd still do my homework, but then I would fall asleep after I do my homework, or during the time when I was doing my homework, I'd fall asleep. It was a bit strange. But I didn't really think that much of it at the time. And the doctors told my parents that I was anemic, and this is why it was happening. So they had me on iron tablets and stuff, and that should fix that in due time.
Yeah.
And then I started having cataplexy, and at the time didn't know what it was, and it was being triggered by laughter. And my very first cataplexy that I can remember was my sister was like, I must have been ironing, and then I finished ironing my clothes, and then my sister took the iron when it was like, after you iron, you leave the iron to cool before you wrap the cord, because you're supposed to wrap the cord until the iron cools.
Yeah.
So the iron was waiting to cool down, and then she picked the iron up when it was probably like almost cool or whatever, and she started chasing me around the house with the iron.
Oh.
And then I was running away, and then I laughed and just like fell to the floor.
Okay.
So that's like my first memory of cataplexy.
Yeah.
And so this stuff like this kept happening, and so they would just thought, oh, they're so funny, that's why I would fall down. Like, when people laugh so much that their stomach hurts and
your knees go weak.
And so that's what they thought it was. But it just kept happening. And so then when we talked to doctors, they were like, oh, she's having panic attacks. Because it would happen at school. Like, there was a ledge that I used to sit on near the drama room. And I'm only 5'4", so I'm quite short. And back then I was very slim. And you just sit on the ledge, and then my legs would like hang off. And I remember like boys in the older years, they would like go past and then like pull on your legs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then I would like have cataplexy.
Yeah.
And then my friends would have to come quickly to hold me up. So that kept happening, and then we talked to the doctor, and they're like, "Oh, you need to tell people at school to stop doing things like that because she's having panic attacks. This is what's happening, and just don't put yourself in situations where people can make you panic. That's why these things are happening."
Yeah. And did you think at the time it was panic attacks, or did that not feel like the right explanation for you?
For the panic attack, I guess I was just like, yeah, when someone scares you, then okay, fair enough. So
yeah, you just kind of accepted it and were like, yeah, okay, well, you'll trust their judgment sort of thing. Yeah. Wow. So when you were at school and you started falling asleep, did it affect your grades at all, or did you manage to get by?
I managed to get by. It didn't really affect my grades which was good. And when I did my GCSEs, I just like did all my exams, and then I just redo them twice, and then I would sleep the rest of the exam. And so people would like find this very strange, and you'd see like other students like near you, and they would like going like trying to like wake you or whatever. I was like, what are you doing? Like, it's an exam, you can't be sleeping. Like, have you read through have you done the exam? Are you ready? It's like, I'm already finished. And they're like, no, is that possible? You're finished. And they'd say like things like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't cheating or anything. I literally had finished.
Yeah.
And then now I was tired and I just needed to nap, and I napped. And I remember being allowed to bring water in.
Ah, okay.
I don't know why, but I had requested that I was to bring water in, and they allowed me. And that used to annoy some of the other students as well. But yeah, that was it. But I was fine, and I just snapped at the end and didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to college, so like say that's the summer, and everything's sort of okay, sort of dealing with it. Oh yeah, I used to walk to school. It was like 45 minutes walk to school and 45 minutes walk back home. But by the time I reached year 11, it had become too much to do it. So I had to start taking the bus.
Yeah.
I was just feeling too tired from the walks. And so then so that's when we started to know like something is up. It's not just the panic attacks and the thing.
Yeah.
And they sent me to see a psychiatrist because they thought it was in my head. I was making it up.
Oh, wow.
And we went for a couple of sessions, and the mum was like, no, we're not going back. They're asking you stuff about your childhood. It's like trying to figure out if you were abused or things like that, and trying to put things in your head, and none of these things happen. None of these things are relevant to why someone is sleeping all the time in classes. It makes sense. So both my parents are teachers. So that sort of helped in a way, in that it wasn't like a teacher from school saying to a parent that wasn't a teacher, oh, your child is doing this in class or whatever. They also a teacher, so they would be like, okay, if a teacher's come to them complaining about a student that is sleeping in class, it must be a certain amount of sleep. It can't just be like a small thing, or else they wouldn't have brought it into attention. Like,
it's not just a one-off.
Yeah, exactly, because they wouldn't have complained to a parent either unless it had been so much that they thought it was going to affect the child's learning or something like that. Yeah, so that's what happened. And then we went to college, and then strangely in that period, like from summer to September when we started college, it just seemed to have just rapidly got worse. Because I hit college and it was just like what happened in those few months, it was just like a completely different thing.
Yeah. And what did that look like for you?
I probably picked the worst subjects in the world to be doing when you haven't been diagnosed with an illness and you're having these things. I was doing maths retake because I didn't pass maths. So I passed all my other subjects, but I didn't pass maths, and I didn't pass geography. And I took 11 subjects and I passed everything else.
Yeah.
So I had to retake maths because if you don't pass maths, you have to retake it. I had to retake maths. I was doing piano outside of as an extracurricular.
Yeah.
And I took law, I took sociology and English literature.
Wow. Like very heavy subjects.
Yeah, all A levels, like the worst combination of world.
Yeah.
It's like books, books.
Yeah. Oh no.
So my English teacher, she just like hated me to the most. Like, you know, how dare you come to class and sleep through the lessons? And then you're given homework and you don't read all the chapters that you're supposed to read and then come back to class the next day and sleep again. Like, it was really irritating. I could tell it was irritating them. And
because at that point they probably think you're just going out too much or not getting enough sleep by choice or being rude.
Yeah. Being lazy, or why did you even pick these subjects in the first place if you knew or you thought they were boring?
Yeah.
But this was not the case. And so I did my classes and I was fine to do the homework and hand the assignments in, and I was getting good grades on the assignments once I handed them in. But definitely English literature, keeping up with the reading was torturous.
Yeah.
Law was fine. I managed to keep up with law. And sociology, I was still able to keep up with those and hand in my assignments and stuff. The problem is that because I slept through so much of the classes, the teachers start to get really concerned, especially my sociology teacher, about exams. Because then when I started to do exams, I would sleep through the exams. Unlike in high school, where I could do the exam and sleep after. It had got to a point where I couldn't control the narcolepsy at all. And so I would sleep in the exams. Like I'd start the exams, I'd start writing, and then I would fall asleep, and then no one would wake me. So then I would sleep through the exam, and then I wouldn't have passed the exam because I didn't even write hardly anything.
Yeah. And did you come up with any strategies at that point to just try and keep yourself awake, even if they weren't helpful at all, you know, just to get by?
I started going to gym and, you know, to try to boost energy and blood circulation in my brain. And no, that wasn't helpful either.
If only the gym could solve narcolepsy, that would be great.
So that didn't really help, but I did try it. And you know, nothing else. I just kept pushing myself because I thought I didn't know what was happening, but I just thought I would be able to push through it. Because I remember my dad saying to me, okay, you know, we don't know what's happening with you, but you don't have to finish these courses. You can just quit them.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and do something else later, you know, once we figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
But I am not a quitter. I hate to quit things. So I was just like, I'd rather, it's a very bad trait to like force yourself to push through something even when you're dying. And I was like really suffering, and it's still, even my piano teacher was just like, you're not practicing enough or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like, but you know, I thought that it was, when I think back now, I think even with someone without narcolepsy, 3 A levels, those particular ones, plus piano, plus maths, is a lot.
Definitely.
So
A levels for anyone is very challenging, particularly at that age, because I guess it's the first time that you're faced with that much information and that many exams and in that level of detail.
Yeah. And so just then my maths teacher, her husband gave her an article of someone who had narcolepsy, who was a teacher, and she had to quit her job. And she gave it to me, and she said, my husband found this, and he said, please take this to your doctor. If this doesn't help you, I don't know what will. And I took it to my doctor, and then within a month, we got an appointment to see a sleep specialist.
Yeah.
And when we went to the sleep specialist, he asked me, like, what are your symptoms? What's happening with you? And I just said to him, I'm having muscle control, weakness, you know, every time when I laugh, I fall to the floor, and I'm sleeping all the time, and through all my classes and everything. And he said to me, you have narcolepsy. I was in there 5 minutes.
Yeah. Wow.
5 minutes. And he's like, yeah, you have narcolepsy. And we're just in shock because one, there was no Google at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no
It was back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. So there's no way to do research and things like that. You'd have to go to the library or, I think they had, what was one of the first search engines thing that they had? Oh my gosh.
It was like Yahoo.
Yeah, even before Yahoo, there was another one. I can't remember the name, but yeah, there was one that was before Yahoo, and that's all they had at the time. And so we didn't even know anything about what is narcolepsy, what is this thing, and he gave us like a little sheet of paper and like a little leaflet, like back and front, like probably talked about it, and it had a reference to Narcolepsy UK, and then we contacted them, and they have produced a A4 piece of paper booklet that was probably like 3 pages long or something, that came out like every 3 months or something like that.
Wow, so that's all the information that you had to go on, really?
Yeah. And it's just like, wow. And so I got the impression, and then he's like, we have to send you to have tests and everything, but I know that you have it. And it's like 100%, it's textbook narcolepsy. It's very severe, it's textbook. And I'm surprised you weren't diagnosed sooner. This is crazy that it's taken this long. And so there's 3 years before I got my diagnosis, but it came 2 weeks before final exams.
Okay.
So it was handy in that respect.
Yeah.
So I did get my extra time.
Good.
Even though I couldn't take my sociology exam because the teacher refused to send me for exams.
Oh, right.
He dropped me from the class, and I just refused to accept it, so I just continued to attend.
Good for you.
So he was like, I don't know why you're coming, because you're not going to take the exams. I was like, I already spent so much of the year doing the class, I might as well finish it. So I just used to still attend the class, but I couldn't take the exam. But English literature and law did allow me to take the exams. And so I took them. I passed English literature and I passed law, but with low grades, but I passed. Yeah, and maths, I went up a grade, which was nice. So I went from an E to a D, so that was fine for me. Yeah, and I didn't have sociology, and I had to drop piano. So
it's a lot when you're a teenager and you have all the hormonal fluctuations of a teenager, and you have narcolepsy symptoms as well, not knowing what that is, and then having a diagnosis. Did you find that affected your mental health at all, or how are you kind of feeling in yourself at that point?
I was happy when I was diagnosed because, like, at church, like, they would say they have this sort of like Jamaican joke thing about this thing called dropsy, and I think that basically dropsy is narcolepsy. Is what they called narcolepsy in Jamaica back in the day, and they didn't know what it was. So they made up their own name for it and called it dropsy.
I mean, it's quite accurate, isn't it?
It is. And so people would say stuff like that, oh, she's got dropsy or whatever. So I was quite happy to get diagnosed. So then I would say, no, I don't have dropsy. I have narcolepsy. It's a serious thing or whatever, because they saw dropsy as some type of joke. I was like, oh, my uncle has it or whatever,
Just like nodding off at the table after too many sherries or whatever.
Or eating too much food or whatever, and they just saw that as like normal. And it's like, no, that's not what it's about. It's much more complicated than that. And so it made me feel validated. So I didn't really care if people said negative things, because I'm like, I would just be like, I have narcolepsy. Yeah, that was my comeback. So I knew that it was like a proper thing, because I had to go to the hospital. They had to attach things to my brain, like it's serious. It's not like a joke. So so whenever people say, I'll be like, yeah, you can say what you like. It's, this is neurological. It's happening inside of my brain. I'm not making it up. It's not a mental thing. This is real.
Yeah. And how did you find the acceptance from your family and friends? Did they understand your condition, or did it take a bit of time to help them understand what it was really like for you?
Well, thankfully, my family was very supportive. Even Dad, because before the diagnosis, I felt that Mum was the one that was more pushing, that really felt something was wrong with me, and I didn't feel like Dad was. Like, I don't think Dad really believed that something was wrong with me. But once I got my diagnosis, he came on board 100%. Yeah.
So that helped once you had the actual the printed diagnosis.
Yes,
you were like, see, it's there. It's on paper.
Yeah. And my sisters, they were fine. And my friends, sort of bit by bit, sort of, how can they help? What can they do? Knowing that you don't have to wake me every time I'm asleep. Like if I was in church, you have to poke me every time, like things like that.
Yeah, just let you sleep.
Yeah.
And did you start medication straight away?
Yes, I started medication straight away. I was on modafinil, and 100 grams. And how I understood it, I was just like, oh, you take your medication and it just makes you normal. That was my understanding of it. And as long as you take your medication, you'll be normal. You can just sort of function as if.
Yeah, as life was before.
But that wasn't the case. But that's how I understood it in my head.
Yeah.
So like every time, when it was working at the beginning, I would feel like my old self to the most part, and I'd still have to take my naps as I was instructed to take my naps. So I took my naps twice a day, and I took my medication, and I functioned quite fine. And then maybe after like 6 months or so, then I'd find it wasn't as effective, and then they'd have to up my dose, and that seemed to be like a continuous pattern of me feeling really good and functioning great, and then after several months or a year, then I need an up dose again, and that continued.
Yeah.
So by the time I started to have stomach aches and feel unwell from the modafinil, I was on it from I was 18 till I was in my 20s, late 20s.
And what dose were you on at that point?
By the time I stopped taking modafinil, I was on 800.
Wow, that's a high dose.
Yeah.
And was that enough to keep you awake and functioning throughout the day?
With my naps, yes. Yeah.
But you were having side effects and things.
Yeah, I was having side effects. And it was quite interesting because it was like, imagine at 18 I started at 100.
Yeah.
And I've gone all the way up to 800. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Difference. Yeah.
That is a big jump. I think the maximum dose I got to was 400 milligrams a day. But I also had to come off modafinil because of the side effects. Like it was just making me feel quite like low mood, and I was getting lots of stomach aches, and I was hungry all the time as well.
Yeah.
Did you get the same? Or?
I don't remember being hungry, but I do remember the stomach aches were really bad. And I already had, not so long after that diagnosis, I ended up with IBS.
Oh no.
So then having extra stomach ache wasn't really helpful. And that summer, we spent so much of the summer in hospital trying to figure out why my stomach was hurting me so much.
Yeah.
And then finally one of the doctors was like, I think it's the medication that she's on. Let's take her off it.
Yeah.
And then the stomach aches went away.
Oh wow.
So then I realised that's what it was.
Yeah. And did you go on to another medication after that, or did you have a period of time without?
No, they put me on something straight away.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So fast forwarding to now, how are you finding it managing narcolepsy? Are you taking medication, or are you managing without it?
So I recently, 2 years ago, my blood pressure raised quite high. So they thought I was going to have a stroke. So they took me off my stimulants, which was very scary for my body, because being on stimulants from you're 18 years old until I'm 40 now, so until 38, it's a long time to be on stimulants. And then they didn't titrate me off. They took me off cold turkey. And my body was like, what are you doing, you evil person? This is horrible. And I was sleeping like 12 hours a day for months.
Wow.
And I had to go to Kenya to recuperate with my dad lives in the countryside in Kenya. And I had to go there and recuperate, and I was there for 6 weeks. And Mum was like, I was like a baby. I'll just eat and sleep, eat and sleep, eat and sleep, eat and sleep. And I'd sleep and I'd wake up and I'd be really hungry. Yeah. And I'd eat and then I'd want to go back to bed. Oh. Yeah, it was just crazy. And I'd just like snap at people like suddenly, like really like very weird, like snaps all over the place. Yeah. It wouldn't take a lot to like get me like really upset. And yeah.
I guess when you're so tired and the narcolepsy symptoms aren't being managed, it's very hard to regulate your emotions as well on top of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I become very irritable when I'm tired, as most people who are close to me know.
I say to people, imagine if you weren't getting sleep, it does make you irritable. You just can't help it, because your body can't function properly. You can't think straight. you don't have patience for anything at that level, and that's why that level of sleep deprivation, it causes that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Don't know about you as well, but I find when I start getting really tired, even when I am taking my medication, I find I start getting a lot of negative thinking patterns, and it's really hard for me to stay positive, and I start just thinking like negative thoughts or getting more anxious, and I feel like it's because my brain is so tired it just can't keep those at bay anymore. So I start thinking, the rose tinted glasses come off and everything seems like so bleak, and I'm like, right, I just need to have a nap or go to sleep, and hopefully I'll feel better afterwards.
And usually do.
And then you wake up and you're like, oh well, I'm sorry about earlier.
Yes, exactly.
I was a bit grumpy. Feel better now. So you've decided to set up a podcast, and you're doing some other work with your Naps for Life as well. What inspired you to do all of that?
So with Naps for Life, it's been 3 years now that I've been running Naps for Life as a peer-to-peer support group on Facebook, and it's like Zoom meetings, and allows people to just come and be themselves, be around other people who have narcolepsy, and just like vent, share their stories, what's happening in their week, their life, talk about narcolepsy or not talk about narcolepsy. It depends. Some people talking about how their week has been and what different ways narcolepsy has affected their week, that helps them. And some people not talking about anything to do with narcolepsy helps them as well. So it's open for both, and anyone around the world can come on and join. And I've met such amazing people from it, and all walks of life and stories, people I would have never met otherwise. So from that, I thought to myself, there are a lot of people who come on who also don't come on the Zoom. They just talk in the chat, and maybe they don't want to come on because they don't want to show their face. Because when I started Naps for Life, I started in COVID, and there were some trolls or some like negative people because Zoom wasn't that popular before, and then COVID made Zoom really popular. There was like some like predator people who used to try to join. Join people's Zooms and stuff. And so because of that, I made the policy that people had to put the cameras on, because then you couldn't have a predator on and not know who they were and things like that. So,
wow, they really need to get a lot of people who do that.
I know.
Just joining other people's Zooms just to troll them.
Yeah. So I had to do it in a way where I couldn't post the Zoom links like publicly. You had to be a part of the page. You had to like answer questions in order to join the page, to have access to that side, so that we wouldn't have like, we need to filter out like the weird people. So we did that. That led, so because of all these people that I've met, I wanted to tell their stories, just to be, like how that teacher, the maths teacher, I'd love if I ever could meet her again to thank her, as she doesn't know how much she helped change my life. And so I want to tell other people's stories so they can help change someone else's life, because what might happen, what might resonate to someone from my story might not resonate to someone else. What someone hears from your story, they will resonate with that, and someone else might not resonate.
Yeah, definitely. I think all our journeys, even though they overlap quite a lot, they are all very individualistic at the same time. And so you can speak to some people who have the same symptoms as you or the same medication, and that really makes sense for you. And then you hear other stories and you're like, okay, well, it's not like my story, but it's actually really good to hear those as well. So and I like that also, because I met a lot of people who got their symptoms later in life, and I always find those stories quite fascinating as well, because I always say to them, it's interesting and it must be harder for them. I'm not saying it's easy for anyone who has narcolepsy as a child or anything like that, especially like kids that didn't have it and then got it because of like the vaccine and things like that. That was me.
So you're one of the
vaccine babies.
So it does make things a bit different, but I just wanted to I just had brain fog. It's completely blank now.
Oh, so you're saying how good it is to like connect people even when your stories are quite different.
Oh, yes.
And the people who got narcolepsy later on in life.
Yes. So the people who got narcolepsy later in life, I feel that it must be harder for them. So say you were a mother and you had your kids and you had a really good job and you bought a house and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, like you're like 35, 40 years old and bam, you get narcolepsy. I think that's really horrible. Like,
yeah, because they would remember life before narcolepsy
like
very
you had
clearly.
a really great life and you were building your life, you're enjoying life, and then bam, this illness just came and took over.
Yeah.
You lost your job, you lost your
changes.
income, everything changes. Your family might not understand and they might not want to be. I've heard so many stories of people who this has happened to and then their family doesn't get on board and doesn't understand or can't be bothered to understand or can't. They're, why don't they pull up their pants? Why don't they work hard or whatever? Oh, you were working so hard before. You were so successful before. Why couldn't you do anything now? And it's like, what? Calm down. Like, hey.
Yeah, they just think it's being exaggerated or it's all in their head. This kind of leads me on to my next question, which I like asking people, which is, if you could press a red button and get rid of narcolepsy, would you do it? And why?
That's such a hard question now. It should be really easy. It really should be easy. It should be like you saying to someone who's blind, do you want sight? And they're like, yes. But before I had narcolepsy, I wanted to be a lawyer. And I'm sure I would have been a very great lawyer.
I think you would have.
But I think having narcolepsy has opened my empathy, like, radar into a different way. I have used those skills that I think I would have used, like, to be a lawyer, to advocate and to like really help people in a different way.
Yeah.
So in one aspect, yes, I want to press the red button and say no narcolepsy, and then just be able to be normal and sleep normal hours and just really get on with life and everything else. But I think I have accomplished so much in still pushing myself and still continuing to push myself when really I could just stay at home and just not bother and not do anything because that's what my body wants. But I still, because I feel validation from achieving things, I still push myself to do things out of the box and to achieve more things. So I think maybe not.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. I completely agree, though, that I think having narcolepsy or any kind of long-term health condition or illness gives you an extra level of empathy that maybe people who are very able-bodied don't have or don't naturally have as easily, because we know how hard it can be for ourselves. We can extend that empathy to other people as well.
Yeah.
And I also think, like you said, it makes you very resilient because you face so many challenges in life with a health condition that you have to repeatedly get back up, and you have to, every day you face obstacles.
Yes.
And I think that's something we can all be really proud of. You know, it's not always easy. Sometimes it's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But most of us try our best. And yeah, we've got things from narcolepsy that we might not have got if we were able-bodied.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you're grateful for from having this condition?
I'm grateful for the community that I have got to know, the incredible people that I've got to know. And I would never have met these people otherwise. Never. There would have never been any chance that I could have met these people. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really special as well.
And they've enriched my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the people I've met since I started Naps for Life, and people that I met, like you, Liz, and other people I've met through Narcolepsy UK, I would have never met them otherwise. And they have made such a difference and were put in my life like for a special reason, and a lot really helped me get me through COVID. Like I don't think I would have got through COVID without it. Yeah. Because I didn't have that support from church. And without those people in that group, like just being able to go and talk to people every week, it's like therapy.
Yeah.
That I'm not paying for. Like,
I can imagine that it's really nice. I need to join the groups more often. I always say I'm going to do it, and then I'm always like napping on the sofa. But yeah, having that community really makes a difference.
I always say to people, come even and be your pajamas and nap anyway. Because like, I remember when I just started Naps for Life, I used to come on with makeup and a wig and stuff like that. oh my gosh, like maybe it took like 2-3 months, and I was like, sod this is crazy. I don't need to do this.
And now we're both wearing like stretchy leggings, we're in comfy jumpers, no makeup.
Because oh my gosh, what act am I putting on?
Mm-hmm.
These people are suffering the same as me.
Yeah,
I don't need to put on a front here.
Yeah, we do that in like, you know, the real world out there.
Yeah, but I was like, no, I need to come in bed.
Yeah, with the blanket around
exactly. And it made other people feel more comfortable to come in bed, or I'd be eating on the thing, or washing the dishes because I feel like I need to multitask.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to put the washing out while I'm on the Zoom. I can't wait until the Zoom is finished to put the washing out. No, I need to, because then I'll be too tired. Yeah. So I need to wash the dishes and Zoom together, or eat and Zoom, or that type of thing. Yeah.
We've got like 2% battery left, so we need to just combine those activities.
And the amount of times I have fallen asleep as a host. So many times.
I love that though. It's probably the only Zoom meeting that you can be in and fall asleep where people won't get offended.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I understand you.
Like sometimes if I'm ahead of thing, I see I'm sleeping, I'll make someone else host. But I love the time completely like out of it. I've had times where I've woken up and the Zoom meeting has been finished.
Oh no.
And I'm like, what happened? When did it end? Where is everybody?
Yeah. How long have I been asleep for?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. That's what makes you a great host though. You're very relaxed.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, so if there is anyone listening that doesn't have narcolepsy, is there anything that you would want them to know about narcolepsy?
I would like everyone who doesn't have narcolepsy to know that the television, Hollywood, and any media outlet does not give an accurate description or view of narcolepsy. There's probably 4 or 5 max publications that actually give an accurate description of narcolepsy, which is extremely sad. Yeah. So it's put in as jokes and all these other things, and this is not the reality for someone who's living with narcolepsy. Sleep is not our only thing that we're dealing with. We're dealing with paralysis, we're dealing with hallucinations, vivid dreams, we're dealing with brain fog, memory loss, cognitive issues. Like there's so much stuff,
and medication side effects as well.
And medication side effects on top of that. So it's not just like this little thing. Hallucinations. Having narcolepsy made me have so much empathy for people who have schizophrenia, because I start to realize what it's like. Imagine when someone has schizophrenia and they say stuff like, oh, I'm hearing voices or whatever. And sometimes we do hear voices or hear the door knock, and then you go to the door, there's no one there, and things like that. Things that you wouldn't want to share with other people because they think that you're a bit nuts, but you're not nuts. Something's happening in your brain. It's chemical imbalance, hormone imbalance. You not having these hormones behave like they're supposed to. It's actually happening. This is not a feeling. This is not a mental thing, but it does affect you mentally because of the way that people treat you, the way that people, accept you, the way that people think that it's a joke when it's not. And, you wouldn't treat someone like that if they were in a wheelchair, or if they were blind, or if they were deaf, or if, they had one arm. You'd never treat them that way. And so you shouldn't treat someone who has a disability that you can't physically see all the time. You shouldn't treat them differently.
Yeah, definitely. Did I tell you about my recent experience with someone at a Lido that I went to?
No.
I might have said it on the podcast episode I did with you earlier. So I went to swim in a Lido that I usually swim in. And I said to the woman, oh, can I get the disability discount? Because they do concessions for people with disabilities. And I said, I've got a hidden disability, narcolepsy. And she was like, oh, you've got narcolepsy. Is it safe for you to swim? And I was like, well, yeah, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't safe for me to swim by myself. Like, I'm a grown adult. Like, I know my boundaries. And then she was like, oh, sorry, it's just because, have you seen Moulin Rouge? There's someone with narcolepsy in that, and it's hilarious. They literally just fall to the floor all the time. And I just thought, wow. Can't believe you just said that to me after I said I have narcolepsy. It's just, I mean, she probably didn't think about it. She didn't think about the effect of that. But I was like, so you're telling me that my health condition is funny? Yeah. I didn't say anything. I was just like, yeah. And then sort of moved on. But it is frustrating when you have interactions like that on a regular basis, because you are constantly having to like educate other people and explain yourself. And it's like, actually, you know, that shouldn't be my job to do that. There should be more awareness in general of this condition. Definitely. And also just better representation of it in the media. Stop putting out, like you said, poor representation or inaccurate portrayals of it.
Yeah. I wish there was a way that we could stop that, some legal way that we could stop them doing that, because they wouldn't do this if you wanted to do if someone had a heart condition and you wanted to do a movie on someone with a heart condition, you'd research the heart condition so much. You would go and find people who had this heart condition. You'd sit down with them. You'd follow them around. You'd ask them so many questions. You'd like literally want to become a part, you know, absorb yourself into their life, so that you could try to feel what they were feeling. Yeah. Why don't they do that for the people with narcolepsy?
I guess because they
just can't be bothered. No, they just think, oh, this looks funny. Let's add it to our film.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, literally. I also had a friend's partner once say to me, because I was talking about my narcolepsy, it was just in a really casual setting, and she was a nurse, and she was like, oh yeah, it was really funny. We used to have a patient with narcolepsy and I guess cataplexy, and yeah, she would get like really annoyed at us like for random reasons and then just pass out, and it's hilarious. I was like, oh no, that's a terrible thing to say to me. And also worrying that you're in healthcare.
Exactly. Very worrying that you're in healthcare.
Yeah. But just like the lack of awareness some people have when they talk to you about, after you say you have a health condition, you know, and then how they respond. It's like, that's not the best way to
You'd think that just by telling them, they would think, okay, I should be really empathetic. Now I should start. Whatever I was thinking before, I probably shouldn't say this. I should find another way to say this in a more kind way, because they just told me that it's a serious thing. But somehow that doesn't compute.
No, they just think of like the falling asleep and they're like, haha, that's funny.
That's funny, yeah.
But not for us.
No, not for us.
Well, thank you so much for, I was going to say coming on the podcast, but it's your podcast. So
yes.
Thanks for letting me join you today.
Thank you for hosting.
It was really nice to hear your story, and I'm sure everyone listening will, be very happy to know more about you.
Yes, I'm glad. That's good.
Cool. All right. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Views and opinions in these stories may not work for everyone. If anything you have heard is relatable, please see a doctor for advice. Thank you for spending time here with us at Narcolepsy Navigators. I hope you learned something new. Please share the podcast with others. You can find us on all platforms. See you next time when we delve into another person's story.